Here. Mr. Gill. Here. Ms. Jones.
Present.
Mr. Kirkner. Here. Mr. Messina.
Present.
Mr. Wagner. Here. Also present is me.
Mexico won't be here. Before we get started, Mona will be able to keep this meeting to a 10 o'clock adjournment. And glad the fact that Rob needed to leave early this evening. I'll change the agenda discussion with the CDC at the top of the agenda. So I would ask the CDC board members to come up to the table and we can use this as a
Mr. President,
roundtable. Yes.
Mr. President, I just want to register an objection to the conduct of this meeting. There is no notice of this meeting that is posted on the building. I believe that under the Sunshine Law, you are required for a special meeting to not only advertise, which you have done, but to also conspicuously post the notice of the meeting on the building. It is not there, it has not. It is not there, it has not been there, and I suggest to you that the conduct of this meeting was not conformed to the Sunshine Law, and that any deliberations and any action that is taken in this meeting is unlawful.
Okay, that's your objection. Again. Rob, as everybody on council knows, and I'm sure the board knows, Rob and I had a meeting last week. We discussed a few items that we expected to see the format to be. And I'll let Rob or someone from the CDC board make any opening comments to him.
But so first of all, I thank the council on behalf of the entire CDC for taking advantage or taking us up on our offer from the discussion last 2 weeks ago with regard to sort of re-identifying the relationship and the importance of the relationship between the CDC and the Borough Council. That being said, we identified some of the issues that we saw that were going on, and that we thought it would be important to have this opportunity to reaffirm the belief that the work that our two organizations do together has been effective and continues to be important. That being said, we at the CDC sort of seeing that the situation where we all found ourselves, quite frankly, was due to a lack of communication. That we had, in fact, allowed the heavy work of the board, the CDC, to in some ways be executed by the employee, and that is the role that we, at this point, are really prepared to begin to assume, so that we can allow Ms. Cassidy to do the work of the CDC, and we, in fact, take responsibility for the communication, take responsibility for the oversight of the project that we collectively deem to be important. Some of those are underway, and as we've always experienced, some of those are opportunities, things that will present themselves that we may not even know exist, but that we, from the legislature, need to respond to. One of the things that we had discussed and the board had chatted about very briefly was a possible solution to that is that we, as individual board members, would begin to assume responsibility for individual projects, so that each one of us would serve in a point capacity, and that we would work with the Borough Council as far as making sure that those situations are addressed and things are moving forward on a timeline that makes sense, and that we can understand the precarious balance which I spoke about of the need of private industry balanced with, I'm going to use this term, and it's not meant to be derogatory about the democracy of government. Government moves slowly. All government moves slowly. The borough, unless you alter the ordinances, still, I believe, have rules that you can't run sheep and read park. So there's those sorts of things out there that, that private industry needs to respond, or we're out of business, and we need to make sure that those, the importance of that is shared from the standpoint of balancing our needs with the obvious limitations of bureaucracy. So that's, in a nutshell, in a couple of things. One is we're identifying what we sort of see as the problem. One of the things that we see sort of as a solution to that problem from an enhancing communication standpoint. And the third part is our need to be flexible and be able to adapt to problems and opportunities that will come out from themselves. It's not a perfect world. We all make mistakes. Our ability to address those and move on is important. That's really where the communication starts. In our opinion, somebody feels strongly that there's something I've missed that they need to add in. I think that moving forward, I guess that it was really, when we asked the question 2 weeks ago, was to identify and prioritize what you all thought was important, so that we could then take that information back, meet as the CDC board, divvy up those responsibilities, and then set in motion a systematic series of meetings where we would have those conversations regularly. And then the CDC would continue to report on a monthly basis in regular fashion, which is reported, but that we would have point people carrying that word really daily over time. I think that actually the conversation that Anthony and I had, I think, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, you were contemplating having meetings from a pre-planning standpoint for development projects, and sort of implementing that same process with regard to the CDC projects, because in a lot of ways they're very similar, so that we would be complying with a similar system, a systematic meeting process that the borough has implemented or was contemplating. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel and things like that. In fact, if we fit into that process, then I think that we take the opportunity to
Part of what Ron and I discussed last week was exactly those items, plus the fact that I felt that this meeting was important for council to decide whether, one of the questions that came up when Ron and I met was, well, is the borough still committed to utilize the CDC as the community development arm of the borough? And that's obviously a question for council to answer. And hopefully that's one thing that we will get out of the way tonight. And I agree with Rob 100%. Everybody makes mistakes. We need to be in a position where we capture and identify the mistakes when they happen, not months later. And that's probably where a lot of breakdown has come from. And I'm here to share the breakdown, because the breakdown on our side has been just the same. It's just the same as it's been for the last 4 or 5 months. And that's one of the reasons why we're all taking another night out of our lives to come and have this meeting tonight.
If I could interrupt or just to that point, I think the fact that we've all taken one more night out of our lives, in spite of the problems as they present themselves, the ultimate goal, that of the revitalization of town, I don't think anybody in this room has ever taken their eye off that ride. And in spite of the turmoil that's occurred, we can all sit here, we can have a civil discussion, we can identify the fact that problems exist. And really the advertisers simply drive a stake into the ground from here,